Ranjani Vasuki has 3 gold medals to her credit for standing first in the Master's course at the Department of Performing Arts, Bangalore University. She was privileged to be selected by the Government of Karnataka to represent the state at the World Kannada Conference held at New Jersey in the year 2010. She had a whirlwind tour of concerts in the USA later on. She is also a graded artist of the All India Radio and Doordarshan. She has performed in several benchmark programs, both live and relays for Akashvani, Doordarshan, Udaya TV, ETV and the like. We have before you Ranjani Vasuki.
Today in this video I am going to present an Avadhana Pallavi. Avadhana Pallavi is a practice in Carnatic classical music to sing a Pallavi by employing 2 talas. Conventionally, both the talas adds up to the same count. A simple example, Tishra Matya and Adi Tala. But here I have attempted to sing a Pallavi by choosing Chapu talas, that is Mishra Chapu and Khanda Chapu. The total Tala Avartana comes up to 35 counts. So I have composed a Pallavi for 35 Aksharas. The Arudi or Padagarbha of the Pallavi falls at the beginning of both the Talas. First I will demonstrate it by putting the Talas and then I will sing the Pallavi. In the right hand I will employ Mishra Chapu and in the left Khanda Chapu. So Mishra Chapu, 7 counts. Takkitta, takka, dinna, takkitta, takka, dinna, takkitta, takka, dinna. And in the left, 5 counts, Khanda Chapu. Takka, takkitta, takka, takkitta, takka, takkitta. Now I will play both the talas together. ಕಾವವೇ ತಲ್ಲಿ ತ್ರಿಭುವನ ಜನನೀ ಜಗನ್ಮೋಹಿನಿ 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 ಕಾವೆ ತಲ್ಲಿ ತ್ರಿಭುವನಾಗ ಜನನಿ ಜಗನ್ಮೋಹಿನಿ ಕಾವೆ ತಲ್ಲಿ ತ್ರಿಭುವನಾಗ ಜನನಿ ಜಗನ್ಮೋಹಿನಿ ಕಾವೆ ತಲ್ಲಿ ತ್ರಿಭುವನಾಗ ಜನನಿ ಜಗನ್ಮೋಹಿನಿ ಕಾವೇ ತಲ್ಲಿ ತ್ರಿಭುವನ ಜನನಿ ಜಗಮೋಹಿನಿ.
We now have Dr. H.P. Shamsundar, a medical practitioner by profession and a Carnatic musician, presenting to us music therapy, effect of music on the healing of the mind and body.
Welcome everybody. I am Dr. H.P. Shamsundar. My topic of presentation today is music therapy, effect of music on healing of mind and body. Before I start my presentation, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed Professor, Vice Chancellor, Professor K.R. Venugopal Sir, Bangalore University, Bangalore. Professor K. Narahari Sir, Director, Indian Institute of Science Fiction, Bangalore. And our chairperson, Professor S.N. Sushila, Department of Performing Arts, Bangalore University, Bangalore. Music therapy, effect of music on healing of mind and body. Music therapy is the use of music in healing. It's been used in our heritage from time immemorial. Sound waves do have a definite impact on our psyche. This effect has been used extensively in improving the quality of life in health and sickness. Great advances are being made in this field. The art of healing has been explored scientifically, and music therapy is progressing leaps and bounds. In this article, I'm highlighting the scientific basis of music therapy, the role of music as a vehicle in therapy is humongous. Music is any tone with a controlled pitch and timbre, which is pleasant to hear. The musical sound is a form of energy. Sound is transmitted through a medium as a longitudinal pressure wave. The wave consists of a series of compressions and rarefactions of the molecules in the medium. The ear is capable of capturing this energy and perceiving it as sound information. The sound pressure levels of common sounds are, when we are whispering, it is about 30 decibels. When we are in a conversational speech, it's about 66 decibels. In a rocket launching pad, it's about 180 decibels. The frequency is received as a pitch of a sound. Higher the frequency, higher the pitch, and vice versa. The range of human hearing is said to be from 20 to 20,000 hertz. The speech frequencies, those frequencies that's most important for human hearing, are from approximately 250 to 4,000 hertz. The sound waves transmit through ear from the external ear, mostly through air from external acoustic meatus. From there, it reaches the middle ear. Through solid medium, it passes through ossicles, bone ossicles, goes to the inner ear through fluid medium, and passes through the nerve. The air and bone conduction are two methods by which the hair cells can be stimulated. Air conduction is sound stimulus traveling through the external and middle ear and activating the hair cells. Hair cells are the receptors located in cochlea that transmit the impulse. Bone conduction is sound stimulus traveling through the bones of the skull, activating the hair cells. Whatever method it takes, the sound stimulus finally activate hair cells in the cochlea, So thus, the outer ear and external auditory canal act passively to capture the acoustic energy and direct it to the tympanic membrane. There the sound waves strike the tympanic membrane, causing it to vibrate. These mechanical vibrations are then transmitted via the ossicles to the perilymph of the inner ear. The perilymph is stimulated by mechanical energy vibrations to form a fluid wave within the cochlea. From here, through the auditory nerve, it reaches the auditory cortex, which is located in the temporal lobe of the brain. From temporal lobe, it goes to various parts of the brain to result in the definitive actions. That is like from it reaches the motor cortex, which evokes the motor movements. Hippocampus is involved in memory for music and musical experience. Nucleus accumbens and amygdala are related to the emotions in music. Cerebellum is involved in muscular coordination, maintenance of posture, balance control while playing an instrument or dancing. Thus, all the centers are interconnected, and when the waves reach, each one evoke the specific action which is needed. The transmission occurs through the definitive neurotransmitters. Every nerve cell synapse has different types of a neurotransmitter. There can be excitatory like epinephrine or norepinephrine, which are the stress hormones which are increased in status of stress wherein the body has to fight or flight actions. Or it can be inhibitory, as in case of serotonin, GABA. There is many other more neurotransmitters like endorphins, oxytocin, dopamine, and so on. Each has a specific action, and they are the transmitters which are affected by music, which evokes a specific action. The assessment of these actions on the brain is assessed by some of the parameters which are used in as a part of a medical tool. A couple of them I am going to mention here, which is pertaining to our topic. EEG is a simple example wherein electrodes are connected to the skull and the wave patterns is observed. Normally EEG, we have this beta waves which are there, which are in the when the mental status is like it's actively conversing or engaging in work, which shows normal alert consciousness, or as alpha waves, which are there when the person is calm and relaxed, meditating, reflecting, taking a break from the work, or theta waves, which are deep relaxation and meditation, or delta waves, which are in deep dreamless sleep. So the effect of music when the EEG is connected and drawn, we can see the effect of music on each individual. There's one more advanced investigation in this regard. Of course, it's not available everywhere. This is functional magnetic resonance imaging. In this, we can clearly have a visual idea of how music works on each center of the brain. It's a technique for measuring brain activity. It works by detecting the changes in blood oxygenation and flow that occur in response to neural activity. When a brain area is more active, it consumes more oxygen, and to meet this increased demand, blood flow increases to the active area. Thus, this investigation may be used to examine the brain's functional anatomy, determine which parts of the brain are handling critical functions, to evaluate the effects of stroke or other diseases, to guide brain treatment, and fMRI may detect abnormalities within the brain that cannot be found with other imaging techniques. I'm just going to show you a brief picture of a fMRI which taken during a session of music. Yeah, yeah, that's a brief picture which we can have it there. So this depicts the actual status of the brain when the waves reach there. So we can detect what's happening then. Next thing is like just a few words about how the music therapy grew. Like it's been there from a long time, from the time of Hippocrates who treated mental patients, or in Arabs in 13th century who had music chambers in hospitals, or native North Americans used chants and dances as healing systems. In us, we had this Nada Yoga, which means being one with the sound. It is based on the concept that the entire universe, with all its living beings, are made of sonic particles. This sound energy, which is in motion, exerts various beneficial sensory effects on living beings. Toning, it's a creation of extended vocal sounds on a single oval in order to experience the rejuvenating energy produced by sound on other parts of the body, like recitation of a omkar. It's a sound of vibrating breath. There is no words or melody. This meditative toning brings about relaxation of mind and body. Jonathan Goldman, an American author, a musician, and a teacher in the field of harmonics and sound healing, in 1982 postulated a theory. According to him, music works that everything in the universe is in a state of vibration. Everything is in motion. It produces a sound or frequency. This includes various parts of our body, organs, bones, tissues, etc. When we are in a state of sound health, everything in our body vibrates in resonance and harmony within itself. When something is vibrating out of harmony, it's called disease. Sound is an energy that can entrain or change the vibrational rate of objects. Therefore, if something is vibrating out of tune or harmony, it's possible to create the correct natural resonant frequency of the out of tune object, project it to that of tuned portion, and cause it to vibrate back to its normal health and healthy state. What's music therapy? Music therapy is defined as an interpersonal process in which a therapist uses music in all of its facets: physical, emotional, mental, social, aesthetic, and spiritual, to help people to improve or maintain their health. In some instances, the person's needs are addressed directly through music. In others, they are addressed through the relationships that develop between the person and the therapist. Ear converts sound waves into electrical impulses that stimulate auditory centers of the brain. Sound traversing through the nerve as well as bone recharges or discharges the brain. Listening, which is an active process, unlike hearing, which is a passive process, influences spoken and written language development, communication skills, social skills, confidence levels, and self-image. Depending upon the interaction between music therapist and the recipient, the music therapy could be an active therapy in this, which include active participation of the person involved. It can be in the form of a writing of music and lyrics, playing instruments. It may be as simple as banging on a percussive instrument. Need not be full-fledged play of an instrument. Choral singing, chanting, exercising, stretching to music, voice exercises, rhythmic body movements, group composition, musical interaction, dance, virtually any form of exercise that employs active involvement with a musical backdrop. It's a participational therapy. It's highly effective in the treatment of neurological disorders, amongst others. In case of passive type of music therapy, here it includes more of a listening type of exercises. It's relaxing. It's a passive therapy. Passive forms of music therapy have been found to be very effective in enhancing concentration and memory, reducing stress, bringing down blood pressure, and helping individuals cope up with side effects associated with heart problems. Music has an effect on all age groups. It's based on the concept that it works on plants, animals, humans, any and all the living beings. It is shown to improve yield in both plants and animals. In humans, the role of music and its effects on various stages of life, I just want to make a mention a few of it. In the womb, a fetus can hear a music. The fetus which is exposed to music has been shown to have a well-developed cortical areas in brain. There is a positive effect on sleeping pattern, feeding habits, heart and respiratory rate. In children, right from neonates to growing up years, playing music enhances oral skills, memory, perception, language, vocabulary skills, spoken and reading skills, concentration, and academic performance. Adolescence is a phase wherein there is a series of hormonal changes and bring about emotional disturbance in an individual. Music brings about, it helps to improve the behavioral pattern of an adolescent. It improves the social and emotional skills. It channelizes the thinking process in a constructive way. In adults, music brings about stability in heart rate, respiratory rate, blood pressure. It has a calming effect on the mind. This aspect has been used in stress-related issues. It's a basis of usage of music while in hospitals, operating theaters, while undergoing minor surgical procedures, dental clinics, delivery rooms, and so on, so that it has a calming effect on the mind, on the individual, and he'll be receptive for the procedure. Music is of immense help in sleep-related disorders, in chronic pains in elders, in cancer patients who are on a palliative care, neurological and psychiatric disorders, trauma and intensive care patients. It will aid in bringing down the amount of medication involved in the primary problem. It can be a sole form of therapy or an adjuvant therapy. As per the quote of Leopold Stokowski, he says, one of the great characteristics of music of India, to my mind, is its flexibility and freedom. While giving due consideration to traditions stemming from the past, Indian music is free and improvised so that powers of imagination in the musician are brought into play. It's in this way the music of India is always creative. Raga is the basis of Indian music in general and Carnatic music in particular. It forms the soul of musical system. Each raga has its own aesthetic quality, individuality, and uniqueness. This comes from the Shruti intervals of swaras that are part of a raga, and any and all forms of human emotions can be expressed in these ragas. The set of swaras determine the type of emotions that could be expressed by them. Apart from melody, the rhyme and the rhythm contributes the emotional quotient of a raga. The result of a raga in any individual depends on the frequency of notes that enter into its formation as well as its jiva swaras and nyasa swaras. The tempo, the way a composition is sung also influences the emotion it awakes in an individual. Some ragas have the quality of bringing about any and all the rasas based on the way they are sung, which in turn is determined by the rhythm and pitch of the notes. That is what we call in musical language as the navrasas. Conclusion. Our country is known for its vast cultural heritage. From ancient times, there is a steady growth in performing arts and fine arts. The music of India, just like the variety of people and varying culture background, is humongous. It is developed over a period of time. It's a way of life. As the modern day lifestyle is becoming increasingly busy and stressful, there is plenty of need for de-stressing oneself. Thank you very much for your patient listening. And once again, I thank this wonderful opportunity given to me for presenting this paper. Thank you.
Elizabeth Maloni, an MFA from the Rutgers University, New Jersey. Elizabeth Maloni teaches ballet, modern dance techniques, dance appreciation. She has also been a very ardent performer, and now we shall present Elizabeth Malone.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Malone. I'm a dance educator and artist with a Master's of Fine Arts in Dance, a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Dance, and a certification in teaching progressing ballet technique. Today, I will be presenting my research titled Sound Making for Dance Making, Understanding from the Inside Out, a study of mental health and connections to dance inquiry. My research was inspired by my personal curiosity for further understanding possible relationships between dance and depression. More specifically, how dance could possibly be applied to practices for individuals with depression. Also, as a dance educator who teaches in higher education, I wanted to gain a greater understanding of what mental health disorders exist in college student populations, even what information I could find out to support me if a student approaches me with mental health concerns. For these reasons, I also pursued a mental health first aid training and suicide prevention gatekeeper training, which were provided by Rutgers University for all faculty. My creative research consisted of two phases, the first of which was a library and online search for resources that covered the two following categories: studies that investigated ways that dance has been utilized for individuals diagnosed with depression, including the use of dance movement therapy, ballroom dance, and dance improvisation, and the other category being artistic portrayals of mental health disorders. I originally focused on how dance has been used to portray depression, but due to my inability to find many examples, I broadened my scope to search for artistic portrayals to include mental health disorders beyond depression, as well as other visual arts that have been used to portray mental health disorders, including cinematography and paintings along with dance. Upon reviewing my resources, I noticed that I was interested in further investigation of mind-body connections, the connections between our inner experiences and outer expressions. Inner experiences being the things that we think about, feel, and carry with us wherever we go, and the outer expressions meaning how we connect to our inner experiences and express them with physicality of the body, such as dancing, or even moving a paintbrush on a canvas to express what we are feeling inside. For my research, I was interested in integrating multiple artistic media to help me create a new means of investigating mind-body connections and new ways to present my research findings. The elements I wanted to use included dance, a kinesthetic element, phonation, an auditory element. For this research project, the term phonation is defined as a fragmented vocalized sound, usually one syllable in length, abstract, and can range from a whisper to a shout in volume. Also, while investigating interdisciplinarity of dance and vocalization, artists such as Meredith Monk and Janice Brenner have already done creative research in this area, but the phonations that I was interested in leaned more towards phonations that may occur in everyday conversation, while those two artists incorporated vocalizations that require great talent and expertise. And the third element to include was video, a digital element in the form of video that would be projected as a background or to be interplayed with live dancing. After the search for resources and exploring interdisciplinary possibilities, I came to two research questions. My first question was, what connections are possible between inner experiences and outer expressions in a creative research process that integrates sound making and movement of the body? In other words, in what ways can inner connect to outer and vice versa? And my second question was, how can the investigation of relationships between mental health and dance and mutual kinesthetic auditory interdisciplinary interplay between inner experiences and outer expressions be used to inform a dance concert? So applying what I find in my data analysis to an artistic work or choreography that could be performed. Moving into the second phase of my research is the design of my research methodology. Characteristics that stood out to me from the resource review that I wanted to incorporate into my methodology included first-person experience and expression. For example, the individual who is experiencing depression or another mental health disorder is also the one expressing it in some way, whether it is through dance or painting their own experience. Partner or group work, for example, working in pairs in a movement warm-up for research sessions, and discussion of inner experiences and outer expressions as a whole group. Multiple artistic media to be used. Respect and sympathy for individuals involved in the investigation. Interdisciplinarity, infusing kinesthetic with auditory elements that immediately influence each other, such as practice working with breath and phonation while moving. A phenomenological and qualitative approach. Anonymous journaling of first-hand experience to answer open-ended prompts. I, as the principal investigator, also kept a journal of observations and ideas for development of research findings for the culminating concert. And a video recording of the kinesthetic auditory phrases created in each research session. Journals and videos would serve as data gathered for analysis, and the videos had the possibility of being used in projections for the presentation of findings as the culminating concert. Participants for this research were undergraduate dance students. The research began with 6 participants, but one had scheduling conflicts and an injury from a dance class, which brought us down to 5 participants. There were 7 research sessions. We had planned on holding 8 sessions, but due to weather, one session had to be canceled. Each research session was a rehearsal period that used the same kinesthetic auditory method to explore that day's phonation, meaning there were 7 phonation prompts total, and each session included the same 7-step kinesthetic auditory exploration method that I had developed. To give you an example of the kinds of kinesthetic auditory phrases that participants created, here is a video from the end of one of our rehearsal sessions. For this session, participants were prompted to choose their own individual phonations to connect to. The phonations that they chose are included in the lower corner, and vocalizing the phonations were optional in the final recording, as well as the number of times phonations were expressed throughout the movement. In one research session, participants used the phonation t to connect to their own unique inner experiences and then create their own movements to go with it. Here is an example of developing the participants' kinesthetic auditory phrases by combining sections of their own phrases to create one longer phrase. Each participant taught the section that they had created to the rest of the group, learning and practicing the full phrase together. My brother and DJ, Andrew Malone, was commissioned for this project to create a music track that incorporated phonations from research sessions. Those phonations were t and ya. Each participant was assigned different points of the track that used these phonations to align movement that they had created for those phonations from our research. In other words, where they were assigned a moment in the music that had they would express a movement from their movement vocabulary that they had created in our sessions together. The analysis. This included reading each journal entry by each participant, looking for and identifying connections between inner experiences and outer expressions, and listing them in organized categories. I watched the video recordings of each kinesthetic auditory phrase created by the participants. I reviewed my notes as principal investigator and observer, and I made sticky notes of each participant's phonations with their corresponding inner experiences to arrange and rearrange, to create a possible order of kinesthetic auditory phrases for the culminating concert. These were all interrelated, dependent on each other, and seeds for development for the culminating concert. Findings include 4 connections clearly identified from data analysis and categorization. The first connection identified was a mental connection, also described in the journals as mentally focused and logical connections between inner experiences and outer expressions. One participant imagined an instance, quote, "When I slid into a plie, I was stopping suddenly to avoid something. This led me to think about being on the edge of a cliff and avoiding it," end quote. There was a physical sensation to connect inner experience and outer expression, including how it felt to use the face, mouth, lungs, diaphragm, and rib cage during a phonation, and then identifying a cognitive image as the inner experience. A physical example was, quote, "It reminded me of the feeling of wanting to get something gross off my hands but being unable to. This inner idea informed a lot of movement, leading me to rubbing my hands and feet against the floor a lot." A memory example was, quote, "A va sound reminded me of a ripping noise. This noise made me think of ripping open Christmas presents. This brought an emotional response of joy and excitement," end quote. This is also an example of memory leading to emotion as a chain of connections between inner experience and outer expression. Another example was, quote, "I felt that my inner experiences directly correlated with my outer expression. My phrase work all stemmed from nostalgia and thinking of memories based on a sound. Thinking about happy memories led to more expansive and sustained movement. Thinking about not so happy memories led to quick, direct, and more bound movements," end quote. Another participant wrote, quote, "The inner experience was rather vulnerable. I felt connected to past experiences in my own life and my ancestors." As for the emotional connection between inner experience and outer expression, one participant wrote, quote, "My inner emotions defined my outer movements today both times," end quote. And another participant wrote, quote, "I would say first my sound drove my physical movements, which then drove my emotions," end quote. There were some unexpected findings from this research. The method broke down choreographic tendencies for the participants, which is a possibility for expansion upon their own artistic expression. There was an understanding of other participants' inner experiences and outer expression among the participants. There was a verbal and physical articulation present, which a participant found as refreshing. There were implications towards changing state of mind or emotion. There was also implication towards development of self-awareness and overall positive experiences with the method. One participant wrote, quote, "I felt a release of tension in my brain during the sound and movement explorations today. I have felt stressed and under pressure lately, and moving allowed that to lessen. This phrase made me feel happy, grounded me with a sense of calm and control. I felt more control and pride in what I was doing," quote. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, final rehearsals and concert were canceled. Therefore, the study ended abruptly. Since a culminating concert could not be held, I compiled rehearsal footage to connect the intended sections for a final creative research presentation. In conclusion, the kinesthetic auditory method offered opportunities for participants to mindfully connect to the outer expressions that they created, demanding an articulated mind-body connection. 4 connections between inner experiences and outer expressions were identified from journal entry data. Using this method provides potential for creating innovative phrasework, as well as potential for therapeutic effects. As for future inquiry, I'm interested in further developing the kinesthetic auditory method for use in dance composition course curriculum for higher education settings, investigating how this method can be used to introduce dance students to interdisciplinary studies, what other ways the method of video mind-body representation can be used for dance making, and how the kinesthetic auditory method can be applied to practices for individuals interested in enhancing their mind-body awareness and/or improving mental health. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for joining me today. I'd also like to thank the Bangalore University and Indian Association for Science Fiction Studies for organizing the International Science Fiction Conference 2020 and for including me in the conference program.